I wish I had good news for you and to tell you as a child or a teenager. Of course, teenagers already know this a lot, but the younger children may not know this. It's a really rough and tough world that we live in. It's super, super sad. A great heartbreak to the Father, to God, to the Lord Jesus above, that people reject him. And the fact is, most people do. I mean, that's a fact. It's a reality. Super, 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 super sad. So I hate to say the sad news on this. Plus, this is where it gets kind of tough to become a disciple. I am a disciple of Jesus. He's worth it. Nothing comes close to my relationship with God, to my relationship with the Father or the Son. Really. I hope you make the wise decision, and may he be Lord and number one in your life. If you don't, it's to your loss. But there must, by nature of it, be difficulty sometimes. You have to really give up the precious, precious things in your life that you don't want to give up. But you have to make a choice, and you have to make a decision. If you remember, disciple means a learner. Here are the various things that I've taught so far, and what it really means. A disciple is a learner, person who's learning from a teacher, a master teacher. And in those days, and even nowadays, in the Jewish culture, they're called rabbis. And then we can also describe a disciple as a student or a pupil, kind of like going to school. There's a school of Jesus, and he wants to school you. He wants to teach you. He wants to lead you, give his instruction. And a good learner, a good student, a pupil wants to be a what? A follower. A lot of people can learn a lot, but, the devil knows a lot. Demon powers knows a lot. A lot of people know a lot, but they don't want to follow Jesus. So a real disciple is a person who follows. And not just walking after him, kind of following behind him. Although rabbis would walk along the road, or if they're going somewhere, and their disciples, their followers, would literally go behind them. They felt unworthy to stand on his side and walk beside him. It's a matter of reverence, of respect to the teacher to have him go ahead of you. But when it talks about discipling in Jesus' day, and by the way, the word disciple is used like a huge amount of times. It's actually like 245 times the word disciples is used in the New Testament, 245. And Matthew alone is, for these disciples right here, is like a whole lot. It's like Matthew has 68 times of disciples. Of course, the word disciple is used 29 times. So it's a total of 274 times with the word disciple or disciples. Very, very popular word. It's in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, Mark doesn't have it all the time, but big time Matthew and big time John does. And also the book of Acts has it, I think 28 times or something like that. So it's really, actually it has its 26 times. So disciples, very important to God, very important thing here. By the way, the word disciples is used once, only once in the Old Testament. It's Isaiah 8 verse 16. But anyway, so let me get my eraser here. So now here we get into the tough stuff about being a disciple. I hope you make the right decision, that you become a follower of Jesus. It may mean something that's really seriously difficult for you. It's not difficult for me, and it won't be difficult for you when you realize what a wonderful Lord he is, what a wonderful Savior, what a wonderful Redeemer, what a wonderful God. He's definitely worth everything to me and to you. He's your creator. He's the reason you are here. He made you. So he should be number one in your life. But there are some things in some relationships that you might have to give up and challenge. And so you have various relationships in your life. I'll try it like this. If I take a big circle here, and you have like outside relationships, like you have people that you happen to know in school. You know their name, maybe you don't even know their name, and you just kind of know them or something in school, in your neighborhood. As they go further out away from your neighborhood, you don't know them as well. And then you have another circle that's a little closer, and we can call that This could be like just people that you know, sort of. You know a lot of people, but you don't know them. You really don't know them. You don't hang with them. You don't know what they like and all that. Then you have, we'll call this like just acquaintances. And then here, this group right here, this is acquaintances, this group, you know, out here. This one is the friends, F for friends. And so you have a lot of friends. You know, not everybody has a lot of friends. It's okay. You know, it's okay not to have a lot of friends. Don't feel bad. By the way, if you become a friend of God, that's all you need. Seriously. And Jesus didn't really have a whole lot of friends. A lot of people didn't like him because he did what was right. And this is what you have to decide, child. If you believe that God is right, which he is, he's right about everything. Everything he says, everything he does, he's the only one that's absolutely perfect and right. If you realize that he is right and therefore he is the one that you ought to follow and you know do his ways and all, then this is where you have to kind of cut off everything else underneath there. In other words, you have a choice to make. You don't cut people off, but if necessary, you might have to pull away from certain acquaintances or pull away from certain friends if they're leading you wrong. You want to be led right. And so you have to be careful on who you choose as friends. But then there's times you have no choice. You were just put in that position. You know what I'm talking about now? Family. This is where it becomes challenging sometimes. So then I'll draw an inner circle here. Let's do family here, and we'll call it relatives, R for relatives. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Grandpas, grandmas, aunts, uncles, you know, cousins, etc. Now, most families have families that don't serve God. There are members in their families that don't really want to go with him, and therefore they are wrong. Because he's the one who's right. It's right to worship this wonderful maker. It's right to love him. It's right to follow him, to become a disciple of Jesus Christ. And so we have relatives. And then we have to get really close. And this is where it becomes really challenging sometimes. Then you have family, the immediate family right here. This is the immediate family. So you have a choice. Unfortunately, we may have to choose between family and God. Now, that doesn't mean you say, goodbye, family, I don't like you anymore. Of course not. We love our family. And there's a lot of pain in families, but the fact is, Jesus Christ, because he's right and because people are wrong, actually ends up causing a division, a dividing of family. I don't know if you can see back here, I have my wonderful Hispanic family. They're representing a family back here, this group here. If you can't see them, I'm going to bring them out right now. Okay, so I'm going to grab them here. So these are really precious people. In reality, actually, in real life, these family members are all Christians, but they're going to be used here for a little bit to kind of demonstrate something. The fact is, this wonderful, beautiful Hispanic family, this Latino family, some of them may receive Christ, some of them may never receive Christ. And there's a divide there. Now, let's say these are the ones who receive Christ. These are ones who don't. I'm sorry, you guys. I know you love Jesus, but just play along with me right here. The fact is, these guys right here, the Christian ones, love this group. They may love them, maybe not. But they go, oh, you've accepted Christ now. And they pull away and they divide and they don't like these. That really is what happened. There's evil spirits behind this, demonic spirits. And they love to get people to hate others. So they're arguing about, we don't believe in Jesus. Why are you doing this? And, oh, I love you and all that, you know. And then they turn their back on him. And they don't like him anymore. Christians won't turn their back on the family. They love them. Now, let's say this particular part of the family, let's say they're drinking and all that. Well, these guys don't want to go drinking and getting drunk and all. Or they're doing drugs or, you know, no, these guys don't want to do that. So they don't like it. Why aren't you doing it? You know, what? You're thinking you're all that. You're so holy and all that. Ugh, it happens in families. The pain that these guys experience is sometimes unbearable. It's really sad. The question I have, and I want you to think about this and really consider it, this is where it may not ever happen with you. A lot of families, they still love each other and they get along and all that, but sometimes it's a division that happens. It's no peace. And so, would you be in this group or this group? would you say, you know what, whatever it takes, I'm going to go right. I'm going to do what's right before God. And then this is what Jesus said. This is the next part of our story. And I have another couple families, a beautiful black family and a beautiful white family here. I actually have what Jesus actually mentioned. We have a son and a father and a son and a father. Now, Jesus actually mentions brother against brother. He says, he's talking to his disciples, his apostles, and he warned them ahead of time, this is what's going to happen. Whew, really super sad. I can feel it. It's like, it's sad to God. God's heart is broken over this, but he's going to do what the right thing is, and you need to do it too. And he said, brother shall rise up against brother. They're going to deliver the brothers. Like, they hate their brother because they turn to Jesus, and then they decide to, say, well, I'm going to deliver you unto the people, the authorities, the religious authorities and all that, because there was, persecution there. In the beginning, it wasn't much persecution in the church, in the first church. So people were just like, what is going on here? Who is this Jesus, this Yeshua, who's talking about the kingdom of heaven and all that? So it wasn't a whole lot of friction. As a movement went on, the enemy, the devil behind all that, got madder and madder because he's starting to realize people are really coming to God. He doesn't want that to happen. So if you're under the control of the devil, like let's say one of these guys are in their family, then you're going to have problems in your family. And he actually ends up saying, brother's going to rise up against brother and all. And also the father is going to actually, let me read it here. It says, and a father, his child. So here's a father, and the child, let's say this teenager here, or it could be a younger child, like I don't know, he could be 10, it looks like 12 or 13 or so, I don't know. But maybe even a younger one accepts Christ. Yay! Boy, does that please God. And he's wanting to follow Jesus. He wants to be a disciple of Jesus, a follower. Well, sometimes, fathers don't know the Lord. My dad, by the way, received Christ a number of years, I don't know how, not too many years after I did. And it can't be an agitation to that person, well, why are you serving God and all that? Because the enemy is behind him, whispering to him. Now, the son should really pray for his father. He goes and kneels down. He can't kneel, but he lies down before God. Oh, Lord, I pray for my dad. Please help him. You need to pray for your family if they're not saved. God really hears that, and he can really help you. But this guy may just reject him, and some people in some cultures, they even turn their back on him and say, I disown you. I'm not going to be your father anymore if you're going to turn to that religion. Happens. I'm telling you the truth, and I just want you to know it. But the child should say, you know what, who's more important? He loves his dad. Oh, he loves him. Like, he really loves him. He wants to have a relationship with him, but he won't have it sometimes. And so if that happens, the son has to decide, well, am I going to give up Jesus and follow my dad? Or am I going to give up my father and follow Jesus? Sometimes that happens. And then it isn't just the father against the child, the son. Guess what's going to happen? You know what I'm going to say? Reverse it, flip it. And then it's the son against the father. So the father, let's say, receives Christ, and he goes, Dad, I liked you the way you were before. What is this? And he rebels against him. He turns his back, or he says, I don't want you as my father. I hate you. Hatred. Jesus mentions hatred here. And then he goes on and says, you will be hated by all kinds of people, like all men will hate you. And it's not literally saying every single person. It's a fact. There's all types of people who are going to hate you. Female, male, this goes with mother, mother-in-law. Later, there's other passages that Jesus mentions of women in this. But in this passage, he mentions father and son relationship. All men shall hate you for my sake, because of me. Because people don't like God. I'm just telling you, people don't want to be told what to do, and they want to live the way they want. And then he goes on and says, in this wonderful passage, I'll read this next part. He says, but he who endures to the end shall be saved. Whoever stands firm. So like these guys right here, whichever ones are Christian, whether it's the dad or the son, these families, the ones who are saved needs to just decide, I'm going to stand. I can't get my guy here. There it is. I think I have it. So he says, I'm going to stand until the end. I'm going to endure to the end. And one guy may never get saved. So remember, he's the one that wasn't saved. He may never get saved, and then he dies. And this guy may never get saved, and he dies. But these guys endure to the end. They stand up for Jesus, and they stand up for what's right. God is right. Are you going to be right? Are you going to follow him? And then he goes on. I'll finish with this. It's kind of heavy, isn't it? It's really super sad. When you are persecuted in one place, he's already warning them you're going to be persecuted. The word persecuted for younger ones here means mistreated. You're not going to be liked. You're going to be insulted. You're going to be mocked. You're going to be made fun of. That's what he's telling these apostles. That happens nowadays. Some people make fun of Christians, or they just bully on them and all. You say, well, I don't want to get bullied. No, who does? But are you willing to get bullied for Jesus? I am. Are you willing to be lied about for Jesus? I am. Are you willing to be insulted for Jesus? By the way, Jesus went through insults. He went through hitting. They hit him. They beat him up, everything for me. And if he did that for me, I'm willing to do it for him. Are you? Definitely. He's worth it. God is worth it. And by the way, the reward is that these two guys right here, these two Christians, they are going up. The other ones went down. These guys are going to go up. They're going to be with God one day. And then he goes on and says that when you're persecuted in one place, go ahead and flee to another place. Like try and stay away from, go to another, because they were called at different villages here. And he said, just leave and go. Remember the dust, shaking the dust off, flee to another. By the way, later, this is Matthew right here. In the book of Acts later, that's exactly what happened. Jesus promised it, or he predicted it. And that's exactly what happened. And they were going from one town to another, and they were being persecuted, especially Paul. And he just went to another one. And they persecuted there, and he went to another one. He just wouldn't stop. He wanted to get as many people saved. Boy, it's going to be exciting when we see how many people Paul led to the Lord. Not only in person, but how God used him to write a lot of the books of the Bible, 12 books of the Bible, and possibly 13. All right, so he goes on and says, I tell you the truth. And then he ends up by saying this, you go into all these cities. I tell you the truth, you will not finish going through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes. Now remember the term Son of Man? Remember that? Yep. Jesus Christ, the Son of Man, the Messiah, the King Messiah. So I'm going to draw the map. Can you draw the map of Israel yet? Okay, let me draw that real quick. And I think I know what this means, and could be wrong, but I think I know what this means, this passage. It's a kind of a more difficult passage to understand. All right, so you have Israel here. And then I'm going to do this because sometimes I put it too low, I think, the Lake of Gennesaret, or Galilee. There we go. Okay, so it goes, and then this is River Jordan coming down here. Then you have the Dead Sea here, something like that. And then you have Israel here, and particularly this area, Galilee, remember, and then you have Samaria here in Judea. Now, what happened is Jesus said, you're going to go out and you're going to share the gospel and everything in the kingdom. They started here and they did mainly here, but he talks about Israel. And later, the whole land is going to be taught the kingdom of God. Here, they're going to go preaching. But right now, of course, in this mission, first mission, it's in Galilee. But later, the whole Israel, he said, all the towns and the cities, there's, I don't know how many, but I know there's 204 up here, and there's a lot of them down here. And even in Samaria, they started preaching the gospel later all over the place, like every direction. They were preaching the gospel, okay? So there, the word of God is going everywhere. He said, you're going to do that. How did he say it again? He said, I know this passage. He says, you will not finish going through. In other words, you're not going to finish all the cities until the Son of Man comes. Now, I thought the Son of Man was there. He's already there, yeah. But this is later. He's already predicting this. He's letting him know that I'm coming. And I believe strongly that what he's talking about in 70 AD, which you'll learn more and more about as we go. AD means Anno Domini, the year of our birth. This very significant date right here, Jesus predicted, is when the city of Jerusalem is burned down. it's destroyed because, well, I'll get into that later. The temple's destroyed and everything. So, and that is the judgment of Jesus Christ coming down. The Son of Man comes. And I'll explain that much more in detail. But in 70 AD, that city right there was taken over by the Roman government, by a general named Titus. And he took it over, and he said, if you're going to go through these cities, but you're not going to be able to finish it because the Son of Man is going to come. And personally, what he's saying, I believe, in relation to what we were just talking about, the persecution, is he's going to judge these people for rejecting him. He's going to judge these people for persecuting the church. He's upset, and Jesus Christ is not going to let that go on and on and on. So this is a wonderful passage for us. We can glean or get a lot of stuff out of it. So I hope you make the wise decision. Jesus Christ is worth it. Besides, if you live right and you're holy and you're good and you're sweet to your parents or you're sweet to your brothers and sisters and you love them, then God can use that. And a lot of people have changed. Happened in my family and millions of other families where some of them say, boy, my brother changed so much or my sister changed so much and they love me and I'm treating them wrong. And they finally say, I give up. And then they give their lives to Jesus because of your love and because of your preaching and sharing with them. It's really important to do that. Oh, by the way, these guys, let me get my this brother and say, all right, you didn't like going through that, did you? No. So, but anyway, these guys are Christians too. And they all love each other. They're really good friends. And the father and son really love each other. That's how it should be. Problem isn't like that in reality in many, many homes. Well, God bless you. That was a tough one. It's a rough and tough, and it's sometimes challenging to become a disciple and follow Jesus, but he's worth it. Is he worth it to you? Should be. He's so wonderful. Thanks for listening.